Coming up on Stoneation.
Like I said, I went to the Echo, and it's not going to last that long once you start going off road. It just isn't. It will not.
Why do you think that is?
When you go into the type of wood that was used for the cabinets, when you look at the actual hardware where the cabinets are put together, when you crawl up underneath and look where they have uh, a half-inch bolt where it should maybe be a three-quarter inch bolt or something. I'm an engineer by trade.
Welcome to another episode of Stoneation, a production of Park Media. Before I introduce today's guest, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share, and leave a 5-star review. And if you find this podcast useful in any way and want to pay us the ultimate compliment, head on over to our Patreon page where you can subscribe to be a Classic, Stealth, or Beast Mode subscriber. Stoneation, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode. On this episode, we get to meet Micheal Phillips and hear his story, in which I'm sure we can all relate to, on how he went from wanting a Class A RV originally to a Class C and then finally down to a Class B RV. Micheal breaks it down to which RV would best suit him and his needs, and in this case, it was either the Winnebago Ekko or the Storyteller Overland Stealth. I really enjoyed talking and listening to Mike and his 2-year process that he went through. I'm sure there are many of us out there that took just as much time, if not longer, to be able to finally decide what would be best for ourselves. But what I really came to realize by listening to Mike, and I hope you do as well, is the fundamental key to figuring out what you want, and that is a person's mindset and the ability to be flexible in today's crazy times. So with that, please sit back, relax, and welcome Micheal Phillips to the Stoneation family. Well, welcome to Stoneation. I appreciate your time to come on. And I'm actually pretty excited to talk to you and kind of pick your brain about the entire process of how basically you've narrowed your RV search down to the Storyteller, but I know that you were looking at a bunch of different other things. And so I'm curious how you came to the conclusion of the Storyteller is the van that you want to get. So I guess if you want to kind of just take it from the beginning and talk about, the other RVs that you were looking at. And then I think at the very end, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were really torn between getting the Winnebago Ekko or the Storyteller, correct?
I was bumping. Those are the two that I finally got down to. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess just take us kind of from the beginning, and then also if you can say or talk about like why you want an RV and how you plan to use it, and kind of put everything into context would be great.
Okay. All right. Well, I've been wanting to RV all my entire life. That's 60 plus years. And being in the military, it you get kind of used to a certain type of living also. So the van life or the RV life was something that was just perfect for me when we would go out boondocks um, or bivouacs. I'm sorry, bivouacs. The type of RVs that I was first looking at, it was because of what I was going to do with my life. Okay. What I was going to do with my life was I was going to continue to work. That's the bottom line. So that kind of geared me towards looking at the Class A's, the Super C's, Class C's. I didn't really go into the towboats. It's not what I wanted.
What is
So I
that? A
stayed away.
Tobo?
A towboat is, the fifth wheels out there.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, a towable. I'm not sure
Oh,
how else to
towable.
explain
Okay, okay,
towable.
got it.
So I wasn't really looking into that, but years ago, back when I was still in the military, I did dive into fifth wheels and was kind of checking that out. So, I would say I've always wanted to RV, always. I didn't know, I was like everyone else out there. It was going to be a weekend thing. You buy an RV, it's like you buy a boat. You buy a boat, you buy an RV, you go out there, that's your weekends. So that's what I was kind of looking at years and years and years ago. Yeah, well, I guess we can talk about this. The pandemic started. Okay, that changed a lot of things, a lot of
Oh
things
yeah.
for a lot of people. Um, we can also throw in this couple words here as far as the Great Resignation. That
Mhm.
also happened. Okay, so there was a lot of upheaval in the last few years of my life, and so I was really looking at becoming an RVer, but while I continue to work.
Mhm.
So that brought me into I looked at the Class A's to begin with. Very nice. Then I started looking at, well, maybe I want to enjoy a little bit more time, not at a campground. Maybe go out there and start boondocking a little bit, right? Getting back into what I was used to in the military. Um, that's when I switched up to the Class C's, and I dove into Class C's. Now, Young Wa, I'm one of those guys that goes off paperwork. So I'm printing up, stacks of paperwork. I have my super Cs, I have my Class A's, I have my whatever else, right? And I'm going through this and I'm reading and I'm reading. And yeah, you can tell me, Mike, you don't need to print the internet. I understand. Okay. I get that. All right. But I'm more of a touchy feely kind of guy. So I'm printing up all this stuff and I'm looking at it. I'm looking at different RVs. I want to do something. I want to continue to work. How can I make this happen? Class A's, Class C's. I decide on a Class C. I'm going to go with a Class C. So I'm going down that road to a Class C. It just so happened that's when I started looking into the YouTubes and I started doing a lot of research. And like I said, I was printing the internet, had my paperwork I was carrying around with me. And two doors down from where I worked was another company. This guy bought a Class A, all right?
Mm.
And then he was parking his Class A in the parking lot out there. He was dry docking or dry docking, is that what you call it? Dry
Dry
camping,
camping.
dry camping, right? So he was dry camping in the parking lot with his Class A, and I knew the guy and everything, and we talked, and I said, okay, how's this working out for you? And he says, once you buy an RV and you want to work out of it, it changes. It
Mm.
just changes. It changes how you look at it. It changes how you feel about it. So it's like, well, do I really want to work anymore? That's what the question came down to. That's the biggest problem that I had of breaking myself out of that mode, okay, to move to the next logical step. And then one day, I just saw, I want to say it was some YouTuber out there by the name of Matt's RV Reviews, and I was watching him pretty regularly, right?
Mhm.
But at that time, he wasn't really into vans, so
Mm.
I didn't know about a van still. But he was showing the Echo when it first came out, and I said, "Hmm, that looks really interesting," because it had this, it had the. What I was concerned about was the toilet. I got to be
Mm.
completely honest with you. I was concerned about the toilet. Okay. How am I going to do this, in a van environment with a little bitty cassette toilet? That just couldn't compute to me. Okay. But the Echo fixed that. They fixed it with their bathroom that converted into a toilet. It was really a cool concept. And then everything else about the Echo is pretty much the same thing like the Storyteller. let me just say this. I'm not bashing Winnebago. I'm not. The build quality had a lot to do with what I actually saw and put my hands on at the Florida RV show. I mean, I dove in there. I was crawling up underneath. I was everywhere.
So
Same
you
thing
got to
like
see both the Echo and the Storyteller. Is that what you're saying?
at the Florida
Yeah.
RV show.
Okay.
And I guess I'm kind of jumping to that a little bit. Maybe I should go back a little bit.
No,
Um,
it's okay.
when I was looking, when I kind of jumped into the Echo, right? And I said, that's something that I really like. And I started researching it. It was a great RV for what I plan to do. It gave me enough. Once again, I'm still thinking about working. Uh, it gave me everything that I needed, everything that I needed. Then I started looking at everything for the Wii Boost and everything that you need for when you're going full time RVing. Okay,
So,
and the
just to, sorry, just to kind of make sure I understand you correctly. So, everything you needed,
mhm,
I understand that you need a bathroom and you're going to work. So, that being
mhm.
said, were you looking for like a dedicated like workspace, like a desk, like power wise? Were you looking for a lithium battery? Like, what were the other requirements that you needed for you to be able to work successfully in the
at
RV?
at at this time it was strictly campsites. So that's
Mm,
what I was good. That's what I was concentrating on. So in
mhm.
my campsite, I had the toiletries, I had everything there, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
all the power. Okay,
You had the
gotcha.
power, you have all, everything. So that wasn't really a big concern to me at the time. That was the one that started me thinking differently, right?
Hmm.
That's when I started looking at it and saying, well, wait a minute. This thing can get to trailheads. I can put my bike on the back if I want. I can get to trailheads with this. I'm not going to be going into the trails, but I could get to the trailheads. So the Echo is what kind of started something deep in my soul that
Mm,
I have to thank Winnebago for. I really do.
mm,
Um, but anyway, to answer your question, it was because uh, a work environment to me, what I was dealing with, I was basically selling construction equipment to the US military with various contracts that we owned. And it was very simple for me to be able to do my job not in an office environment. However, I still needed everything you have in an office in order to do my job. So I'm out there bidding on contracts, I'm out there taking care of customers, whatever the case may be. As long as I had that setup to where I had good communication, the capability of doing my job, right? It was the perfect scenario for me because at this time I'm going Echo Super C, right? Echo Super C. I'm playing with these two in my head, and yes, my stack of papers again. Um, and the more I looked at it, it was like, wow, do I really want to drive a 47-foot vehicle, from point A to point B? Granted, it's only every 14 days, but do you really want to do that, Mike? Long conversation with myself, and basically I said no, I don't want to do that. And I just stuck. I just stuck with the Echo. Okay. I really didn't hear about Storyteller, but I heard about the Rebel.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I said, and out there in California where I was based, I would see a Rebel every now and then. I would actually see one on the road. So I would follow it down the road and I would take a look at it. And sometimes I would, the person would happen to be there in the parking lot. I would start talking to him, and I started looking at this thing, this van thing. So I said, "Oh, okay. Well, a van is kind of cool." And then just researching this on the YouTube, Stoneation, not Stoneation, Storyteller Overland came up in one of my searches. So I clicked on that, I liked that, and I started researching that also. But I'm still with the Ekko. I'm still going with the Ekko. Okay. A few months into this, pandemic's going strong. This is when America was washing their groceries. All right, that's where we are during the pandemic. So it's like, okay, well now I should be concerned about this. You know, what do I got? What do I got to be concerned about this next step? What does this mean to me? That brought an inward conversation to myself where I wanted to say, okay, do you want to work anymore?
Mm.
Is that what you want to do? This work, you are gearing this entire process up so you can continue to work. And I started getting more and more away from that requirement. Okay, where it turned to more like work, and it was flipping to more of a lifestyle or more of fun. Right, work was falling way behind. It got to the point where, okay, what does this truck, this vehicle, what can it do for me if I switch this, if I switch this? And that's when I started looking at, you know, the build quality, okay, the build quality, because going down a highway is perfect. Going down a dirt road, a little bit different. It's going to shake,
Yeah, different
rattle,
game
and
for
roll.
sure.
All right. So that's something that I was never looking at doing. Okay. And then I started looking at it. And that's what drew me to the Rebel. Looking at the Rebel, my I'm switching, I'm changing. My mind is definitely changing. It's like, well, do you want to work anymore, Mike? And I said, no, I don't. All right. What do you want to do? Well, I don't know if I want to have my RV life strictly at campsites. You know, I don't know if I want that because I saw some of the campsites and they're basically, right next to each other when you're parking.
Yeah, it's a parking lot.
Exactly. And so I did not want that. But if I was going to stick with the Ekko, I think I would have been stuck with something like that. And then one day, probably a year ago, okay, I start diving into Storyteller Overland. And everything that I could research on this thing is like, this thing is solid, it's built well. It's like, well, that's what you need if you're gonna go out there and go beyond the trailhead. And that's what switched it up to me to decide, do you want to look at these vans and go a little bit deeper into this, into a deeper dive? Or do you want to stick with just the Ekko, campground, blah, 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 everything that I spent the last X amount of minutes talking about? So that's a year ago, right? So I'm doing research, I'm looking at everything. So once Storyteller, once I started looking into Storyteller more, and my mindset changed, right? Work beyond the trailheads. I have to admit, I was pretty much sold at that point that I'm going to go with the van life. Okay. So this is what, maybe 6 months ago, something like that. I was pretty much sold on it, but I still wanted the Ekko. I still wanted to check out the Ekko and, put my eyes on it and look and see at this thing. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but what was it? You said you looked at the Revel, and I know you were looking at the Echo for a long time.
Mhm.
So what was it that made you want to get the Echo over the Revel at that time?
The size, the size. It was a little
More
bit
more
bigger,
size.
more space in the Ekko. All right, it's just the size of the wheelbase, which is what I think it was the 144 I was looking at. So that was a big thing to me. That was a big thing to me. Now they had the Rebel has their toilet and their bathroom. They have that. We know this, right? But it just seemed so small, to me. how can I do this? How can I do this, right? And to be honest with you, if you're going to go full time, in my humble opinion, right, and you're not going to worry about going past the trailhead, the Echo is a pretty nice RV. You know, you can probably have that for a good 10 years or so. Okay, live very comfortably with it and enjoy some RVing. If you want to go to a campsite, right? If you want to stay on a highway, if you don't want to get off the beaten path every now and then, it's a very good platform. It is. I will say that about Winnebago. So some
So
things
you're dead set on getting the Echo,
all
but
all the way up until the point of a few months before I took off. Just sold the house out there in California and took off here to Tampa. So life changed. Okay, life changed. Pandemic, everything was fine. Sort of, kind of, got a little bit better. We understand this thing more. Okay, so there wasn't a concern of mine anymore. It was more or less of what do I want to do in the future. So at my age right now, I'm probably looking at what, 10 to 15 years having the good health. Hopefully it goes way beyond that. But to be able to go out there and do this thing on a regular basis. Am I going full time? No, I'm not. I'm going to have a base. Probably going to be here in Florida. Could be up in Ohio too. We got some family up there. But I am looking at some extensive trips. I'm looking at 3 or 4 months at a pop. But I wanted to do more boondocking. With the change in my mindset and the direction that I now wanted to take my life, okay, the Storyteller Overland is what cinched it for me. It's what was no more the rebel, no more looking at these small band builders out there, no longer looking at that, going with something that's up and coming, which obviously is, right? And it's time for me to decide what it is that I want to do. So I decided to sell the house with out in California with the caveat that I wanted to do a cross country trek. I wanted to do uh, Oatman, right? I wanted to do in my car, not in a van, just in my car, just moving from point A to point B, okay? And I actually started seeing some of the vans more and more out there in their environments, not on city environment, but actually in their environment. Um, it kind of cemented my thinking that, okay, this is what I like. I love to travel. I always have. In the military, I spent 22 and plus years in, but that entire time, with the exception of 5 years, I did a 3-year tour as a MTI, as an Air Force for military training instructor, a drill sergeant. That's what that is. All right. So I did that. That's down in Texas, and I did a couple of years up in Oklahoma. The rest of the time, I was all over the world. So I love traveling, but I never really traveled that much here in America. So this was a big draw for me to be able to go out there and see, this beautiful country that I spent 20 years of my life defending, right? Um, so going from west to east, after I sold the house, going from west to east, and I'm seeing all these vans out there, and I'm getting a taste of the road again. It just kind of whet my appetite. So I left California on December 29th, okay? And it took me 2 weeks to get, or 3 weeks to get from there to Tampa, enjoying everything that I've talked about. And then I hit the Florida RV show. I actually went there 2 days, okay? Um, I spent all my time, except for maybe a couple hours that I spent at the Echo. All my other time was spent over there with Storyteller Overland. just picking those guys' brains, just looking, crawling up and getting into it, laying on the bed, seeing, what if I bring in um, this for storage? What if I bring in that for storage? How's this going to affect me? Can I do this? I'm going to have my bike. What am I going to do with my bike? Just kind of like piecing it all together, right? For those of you that are watching this and you haven't spent any time uh, with Storyteller Overland, you should get to know these folks. You really should. They answer the questions and they're pretty impressive. And for those of you watching right now, young Walla, you should also get in touch with her too because she has a lot of knowledge out there also. Like I said, I went to the Ekko, spent maybe a half a day there, dove into it, and it's not going to last that long once you start going off road. It just isn't. It will not.
Why do you think that is?
When you go into the type of wood that was used for the cabinets, when you look at the actual hardware where the cabinets are put together, when you crawl up underneath and look where they have a half-inch bolt where it should maybe be a three-quarter-inch bolt or something. I'm an engineer by trade, all right? So all this sort of stuff is very near and dear to my heart. So it's not going to, my vision of the future, right? I couldn't see myself in the Ekko, okay? So let me get to the toilet, since that's what pretty much was the first thing that was started off with here, right? So the toilet. I had a huge problem getting over the fact about this toilet thing and this van thing as far as the toilet. And that was the only thing that kind of stuck in my brain there as far as going toward the Ekko, okay?
Well, are you traveling alone or are you by yourself?
Well, I got myself and I got baby.
I mean,
It's just me.
okay. So you're riding
It's just
solo
me.
then.
Just all right.
Okay. So if you're riding solo, so was it the fact I'm just trying to understand the toilet
Mm,
situation. So um because you're by yourself, was it just you wanted like a piece of porcelain to sit on? Or because most people that have the issue with the toilet and the
mm,
storyteller, they're usually
mm,
coupled up and they want their
mm.
privacy. But you're not in that situation. So do you mind just expanding why the toilet was such a big
The
thing for
toilet
you?
was a big deal. Yeah, it almost cost me the situation where I bought the wrong RV because of my mindset. Okay. So when you get up there in age, right, you start thinking about this sort of thing and start looking at, okay, what can you do? What can you do in 10 years
Mm,
from now? What can you do? All
okay.
right. So that was stuck in my head. It's like, well, I need a toilet, I need a shower. All right. That was drilled into my head. Once I got past that, I do not need a toilet. That opened up so much space for me and so much opportunity to where, well, no, I don't need this. I don't need this at all. And lo and behold, I bought well, it's going to be no, it'll be a 2022 Stealth with a 2023 build, I think. But I will
Mm.
get, from what I understand, I just found out the other day, because I was worried about what are they going to? What's Mercedes going to? No longer a 4x4, but they're going
So,
to an all-wheel drive, just a smaller engine, right? A
mhm.
gas engine, I think.
No, it'll still be a diesel, but they're doing a twin
Okay,
turbo to compensate for the loss of
okay,
power.
all right. But I'm actually okay with that. I'm fine with that because right now I'm not necessarily settled as far as, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it, retired. Okay, retired. That's parentheses. Retired. Um, retired. Uh, so anyway, once I got to the point where I decided to retire and everything, it was more getting to fun part of it. Young law, am I the kind of guy to, in my day and age, to go out there and do 5 days of boondocking in 25 miles away from anybody? That's probably not me no more. But the storyteller does give me that capability to do that. And that's what I always wanted to have is, hey, if this happens, I don't want my vehicle to be the reason why I can't do this particular trip. You put out on your newsletter and your webpage out there, you put out all these events that are coming up. I'm really looking forward to all those events. I can't wait to get out there and start, seeing the community. Oh, the community. Both the Echo, all right, and the Storyteller, very nice communities. Very nice. I'm impressed with both of them. Okay, but since I made my choice and put my down payment down, right, I'm really diving into Stoneation as far as you is concerned. I'm diving into the people out there within Storytellers. It's a pretty cool community. It really is.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is.
you can
Yeah.
speak to that. For me, looking from the outside, looking in, it's a pretty cool community. I'm, I'm, I, I
Oh
think
yeah.
that was one of the things that kind of put me over the top, right? As far as did I, because you always have what's it called, buyer's remorse, right? When you put something down, right, and you always think, oh, did I do the right thing, right? That's what something right there that put me over the top because I started getting into the community.
Well, it sounds like, you went from what, class A's because you were trying to figure out how to be on the road and you know, as you said, retired, but also still
Hmm.
working to, well, you know what? I want to enjoy the finer things in life because I deserve it. I mean, you deserve it. Like you spent, like you said, over 20 plus years in the
Yeah.
military. And, which thank you for your
Oh,
service, by the
thank
way.
you.
And you deserve it, to say the least. And it's been really interesting to hear how you went from the class A's, dwindled it down to the C's, and then how you found the storyteller, and then how you looked between the Echo and the Revel and the storyteller, and essentially landed on the storyteller because I think you brought up a really good point in regards to it's your mindset, your mind frame, how
Mm,
you're looking at things, and also your priorities in
mm,
life, right? And just like anything else in life, it's very fluid. And the pandemic, was in the back of your mind in regards to like making decisions of what you want. But I think ultimately, what you ended up doing, from what I hear, is you found what you really want to do when you're out on the
it
road, and that's basically
it
go have
wasn't
fun, and you don't want to be
it
limited.
wasn't a waste of time. This entire 2 year journey was not a waste of time. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also the bathroom part too, from what I heard you say, that was, a major
Mm,
hang up too. And to be able to get over that hurdle, I guess, in what your expectations were when you were on the road, that can change too. So I think that's really important for others to understand is that it's, like I said before, it's more of a
mhm.
mind frame and how you kind of look at everything. So, um,
You hit it right on the head, John Wall. It did help do the critical thinking that I'm doing. Do you need a bathroom? Do you really need a bathroom? Right? And looking at everything and making, I think making the right choice. I ask you, talk to me in March of
yeah.
2023, okay?
Oh, I definitely will. And I'm looking forward to seeing that big old smile when you finally get your stealth. Um, I only have like a couple more questions. So out of the three models, the classic stealth and beast, why did you want the stealth?
I was gonna go there for the beast, okay? Um, the beast had everything that I wanted, except, and I know this is a silly thing, all right, but the color of the van, it just wasn't for me. The Stealth with the gray that I got, not the Pebble gray. I got the other one, the one with the flakes in it. Um, it's the color. It's the color. It's the
Yeah. No, I hear you. When you pay almost $200,000 for something, color matters to, for
oh,
me.
plus the Beast.
So,
The Beast
I
is
mean, I,
198, 198K, I think, and the Stealth is
hmm
169. So now that has a lot to do
yeah,
with it too.
yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. So one of my last questions I have is, I noticed, following you on Facebook, you have the little snowman. You mentioned
That's
his name,
baby.
but I can't remember it earlier.
That's baby.
Baby. So what's super cute? What's the story
Baby's
behind
been
that?
with me probably 20 plus years. I bought it. I bought it for my bought baby for my wife. Um, and he's probably going to come with me. So he's been part of my life
Okay,
for quite a long time. Quite a long time. Yeah.
that's good.
It's just being silly.
Well,
It's just me being silly out there. No, I'm not a weird guy that needs cuddly. What do you call these guys? Toys, I guess, right? Stuffed animals. I'm not a guy that actually needs that, but yeah, it's kind of cool. As a matter of fact, baby was with me when I bought the van. I had I had him in my
oh
backpack.
yeah, yeah. I saw on the Facebook group when with the picture of you looking at the van and you had
Yeah,
baby in your backpack. I thought that was really cute. I figured there was some type of sentimental reason, not because you're just kind of crazy.
yeah. He's been with us
So
for a long time, and it's just going to be me and him now going forward. And yeah, baby brings up baby
that's good.
is an icebreaker, all right. And the question will always come, what is this? Why? And then that's when we just start conversing with people. So that baby is my he's my
Hmm
icebreaker. The one over here, all right, just so
Okay.
you know, if you're wondering, that one's little one. That one's called little
hmm
one. That's little one right there.
Little
All
one. Yeah. Well, that is a fantastic story. I really appreciate you talking about your entire, I call it the RV life cycle. You first start your journey and you go through
right.
like all these changes and mindsets and like, expectations. And it's so hard because you want to narrow it down to the perfect vehicle. But fortunately, that doesn't really exist. I mean, as of right now, but, um, you know, it's so interesting for you to be able to share how you went from a Class A down to literally the smallest RV, which is
The
Class B.
144, the 144. I mean,
But I'm sure you're not the only one that started from getting a Class A, working size
mm,
wise down. I mean, those things are
oh yeah,
behemoths, anyways. Like I see them all over the place, and I think I saw one this last summer over in Yellowstone, and they were trying to turn around. I was
scary.
like, oh my God, this is
I like the way you worded it. I really did. You basically downsized, Mike. You downsized from a 40 footer down to a 144 inch. So that's pretty dramatic.
No, I really appreciate hearing your story, and I know other people will be able to relate. And I'm sure whether you know it or not, you're probably helping tons of people out there in their search because maybe they need that room.
Mm,
Maybe they don't want to downsize.
that's true.
Everyone's kind of different. So, maybe they, can't, maybe they just have to have a bathroom, maybe for like
That's very
medical
true.
purposes,
That's very true.
like,
And luckily,
yeah,
knock on
yeah.
wood,
So,
I'm healthy enough to where I don't got to worry about that. So
well, you look like a young lad still, so don't fool yourself.
you just made my day. Thank you very much, young one.
Of course. So I like to end, as you probably know, all the podcasts with the same question, and that is, what does it mean for you to be part of this donation community?
I'm looking forward to be a part of the community. What I can offer, what I can bring to the community is what I can bring to the community. You can get to know Mike Phillips and see what I can bring to the community. I'm not that bad of a guy. I really am not. What I'm expecting from the community, they're already giving to me. You're already giving me the knowledge, you and your Stoneation and your podcast, what I learned today as far as what you're doing now, instead of going full time. I mean, you're already giving that to me. Every single one of you are. All those folks that are out there, YouTube and YouTube it on Storyteller, YouTube it on Boomba, YouTube it on the life out there, right? You're already giving that to me. So to answer the question, I think I have a lot to offer to the community, right? But I think the community has so much more that they can offer to me. And I'm looking forward to diving into that. I really am.
That's good. Yeah, no, the community is it's one of those things where you get your cake
Mm,
and ice
mm.
cream too.
And
So,
I like both.
and I'm super yeah, me too. But I mean, you just coming on this podcast and sharing your story, you're giving back to the community, whether you know it
I
or not.
I
So,
believe I am.
yeah.
I didn't listen to all your podcasts, but I have listened to a lot of them. Okay. Well done on the new segment that you're doing now with the happy hour segment, right? Well done on that. Super duper good job. Keep that up. Keep that up. I think you got something there.
Stonation is a production of Park Media. The executive producer is Younghwa Kim. The audio engineer is
Stephen Grasso.
The marketing director is
Guillaume Golson.
The original music and artist is done by
Jason Wallsmith.
The sound designer is
Lorenzo Interiano.
and the webmaster is
Peng Shi.
Without any of these people, this podcast couldn't happen, so a big, huge thank you. And a big, huge thank you to you, the listener. If you like this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a 5-star review. This is Younghwa with Stoneation, and I can't wait to share the road with you.